Ah, son of a gun. Hold on. All right, why is the wrong window up here? That's a little disconcerting. Properties. Window capture. Hide. Properties. All right, I think I'm back. God damn it. Why do I always crash? Oh, damn it. It showed. It actually ended the stream. That's where. Hold on. Now I have to get back. Yeah, I restarted.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah. Ah. And unfortunately, so here's the difference. When using Prism, if I crash, it looks like it ends the stream automatically. I've only crashed like twice today. I really got to get another computer. Jeez, this is this is just insane. Yeah, it's so frustrating. I know exactly what's happening. The computer's crashing, and if I'm using, I'll explain it when people come back on. I should just go I should just go StreamYards. I think we might get some people on if I do StreamYards. Let me do that. It is what is it 3:30? Yeah, people might come on if I do StreamYards. I'm actually not out of hours yet. For some reason they didn't charge me hour yesterday. I looked at my account balance and it's the same as it was yesterday, which is really it's interesting because I streamed for a while, then I ended the stream, but I kept the StreamYards going, and I expected it to run out of hours, but it didn't. So let me post. Let me create a live stream. 107. All right, I'm gonna hold off on the I'll hold off on the live stream. So I will post. Let me post something on the chat. I'll start it if there's a couple people. Boom. Pin the message. Until we're doing that, let's see what's going on. What kind of news we have today?
What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. New haircut. There is a deeply ingrained myth inside modern Russia that the state always steps in when the things get truly bad. That when a war reaches your doorstep,
Actually,
when your house is blown
I'm gonna
apart,
put it.
and you're like,
I'm gonna keep this on for a little bit. I'm really more interested in doing like looking at Pataya stuff, to be honest.
through no fault of your own.
So I'm
the
gonna
government will at least keep you from starving or freezing on the street.
I'll keep this up until I
that
find
near just died
like
in
something
Kursk region.
cool to watch.
Not quietly as it usually happens with all the regions being ignored and forgotten by the Kremlin, but it died in front of cameras, police vans, and desperate people screaming that they are about to become literally homeless.
You can use
Because
it.
this
I don't
wasn't
actually
about
know
politics,
the spell now.
ideology, or even the word itself.
Expelliarmus.
This was
Expelliarmus,
about
yeah.
the Surubai,
Stupefied.
about
Think
the
of
people
another one.
What the hell's
who were
going on
homes
here?
during
No,
Ukraine's incursion.
Where's that noise coming
It's
from?
beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Here I am in Bray, and I'm doing the final part of my Heston
Where-
Blumenthal. Blumenhell. That
Where's this
nearly
coming from?
knocked me over. What's that van driver doing? The Heston Blumenthal trilogy.
Oh, okay. I heard something in the background. It's pretty funny. Okay. Yeah, so unfortunately, this whole computer situation is maybe I should just get like a laptop or something and run this from a laptop instead of the desktop. Like, it doesn't take a whole lot of processing power. I could probably run it from a laptop. All right, so let me run this. Yeah, let me run this while I'm. This is live right now. Except I don't want to hear the music. And what should I look for? Oh, something very interesting did happen. Let's maybe we could play this for a little bit while we're waiting for people that want to come on. Pause that.
On Patreon, link description below. Today we have major
This
breaking
is,
news coming out of the area of the Norwegian
This is a
Sea
really
as
interesting thing that happens today, and he'll certainly describe it better than I can. But the U.S. there was like a rogue oil tanker that the U.S. Coast Guard was chasing really close to Venezuela, and it kind of like did a roundabout, then it kind of went up and tried to get back into Russia. And I was talking about this a little bit yesterday. And what they did was they had some African flag on it, and then as soon as it like turned around and tried to head back, like they put like a different flag on it. But we'll see what he says.
forces have been confirmed.
It means that there's something really serious on that ship that they don't want people to find out about. Very interesting.
Have seized the Bella 1 tanker, which has been under pursuit by U.S. forces for over a week and a half. Additionally, we have been able to hear that the Russian Navy was within the area when the seizure was conducted, but apparently did not open fire and did not conduct any open response. However, Russian lawmakers are directly threatening that U.S. ships should be attacked and torpedoed by the Russian Navy from this point onwards, as they consider the action to be a near overt act of war.
This is actually where I heard they said it was like 900 miles south of Iceland. And what I was kind of getting at yesterday was they have three options. If they're trying to get a ship back to Russia, they have the one option of getting into the Mediterranean, right? You get into the Mediterranean by going like through the Mediterranean Sea and then going through the port of Istanbul. I was gonna say Constantinople, but Istanbul, and then they would hug the Turkey borderline to get back to Russia that way. But like Ukraine's going to bomb that. If they see it and know about it, Ukraine's going to bomb it. The other option is, and this is a tough one, just to go around the coast of Africa and kind of like go through Russia as I think it's a cold water port. Actually, is Vladivostok a cold water or warm water port? I'm not sure. So they have a port here, kind of in Vladivostok area. They could do that, or they could bring the ship around, which they tried to do, and they could go through. You kind of go through this area here, like north of the UK, and then you hug around through Norway, in this area here, and try to get to the port next to St. Petersburg. This is the one they tried to do, and U.S. caught up with it and boarded the ship. And it's going to be very interesting to see what was on that ship, like why this was such a big deal that Russia said they're sending submarines out to protect it. Very interesting. I wonder, and what's the chance of us finding out what's actually on the ship? But well, we'll see.
Meanwhile, the United States has also seized another tanker within the Caribbean, the MT Sophia, simultaneously as the seizure actions for the Bella 1 were underway. Meanwhile, the United States of America has caused significant concern within Europe, with France drawing up plans in case the United States is to attempt a military annexation of Greenland, and the Danish giving orders to their defense forces on the island of Greenland to open fire on any unauthorized military activities by any nation, including the United States of America, within the territory of Greenland. Outside of that, the Venezuelans are continuing to see that sanctions are now being eased on their oil exports as the United States of America is preparing to take in nearly 30 to 50 million barrels of oil from the Republic of Venezuela, still operated by the Maduro regime, just without Maduro. Outside of that, we have also been able to see that the Syrian civil war is fully underway, especially within Aleppo, as the Syrian interim government has now stated that SDF forces within the city are enemy combatants and have given only 3 hours for civilians to evacuate the area. Meanwhile, the revolution in the Islamic Republic of Iran is continuing in strict severity and is continuing to show growing momentum. Large amounts of videos we cannot show here on the video, but it does appear that the situation inside the country is incredibly strenuous, as it has been and is only getting worse. This also comes as the U.S. is still conducting surveillance flights against the country and looks to be preparing for larger actions against the Islamic Republic of Iran here within the near future. We have that news and much more to cover here in this video, and we're of course going to be starting with our largest stories first.
That's actually pretty impressive. They published it like 29 minutes ago, and they already have 15,000 views. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see. You may not be able to see that from this angle. Let me pull the thing a little bit closer. Boom. Oh, actually, it makes it okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. You're getting 16,000 views in like when you publish it 29 minutes ago.
Our way on down through the stories throughout the video. Moving us on into our largest story within the area near to the Faroe Islands, reports did start to emerge that the Bella 1 had been seized by U.S. forces just several hours ago. According to U.S. European Command, the Justice Department and the Department of Homeland Security, in coordination with the Department of Defense, announced the seizure of the MV Bella 1 for violations of U.S. sanctions. The vessel was seized in the North Atlantic pursuant to a warrant issued by a U.S. federal court after being tracked by the United States Coast Guard cutter Monroe. We can see a picture showing us the U.S. Coast Guard cutter, the Legend-class cutter Monroe, actually continuing to pursue the vessel just prior to it being boarded. And you can see the Bella 1, which appears to be a rust bucket just off frame inside of the sea. We've also been able to additionally see more pictures of the Bella 1 just prior to the seizure. This is another picture taken from the bridge, or the bridge area of the Legend-class cutter Monroe, that was following the Bella 1 tanker all the way into this area of the North Sea.
Yeah, the United States got intel from England, or let's just call it, I'll call it the UK, but it's probably England, that they were able to track where this thing was, and the U.S. was able to catch up with it.
From what we understand, very, very short in terms of time between this picture being taken and the seizure of the vessel actually being conducted. The last bit of evidence that we have of the vessel being boarded was from the vessel itself. Russia Today appears to have published these pictures of an AH-6 Little Bird with Special Forces operators hanging off the side of the helicopter as they begin to circle the vessel and prepare to board it. Those were the last pictures that we got from the vessel, and afterwards we then were able to confirm that the ship had been seized by U.S. forces.
Good.
We did get that statement from European Command largely corroborating that action. Additionally, we have been able to hear that the Russians have started to cause a decent amount of stir, at least within their government, over the seizure of the vessel.
There must have been something so valuable on that ship besides oil. Like, why would they be hooting and hawing about an illegal vessel just for the oil?
As the Russian Foreign Ministry, through Horseface, aka Sergei Lavrov, has made the following statement on the Marinera, or the Marinera, being captured. Russia demands the U.S. ensures humane and dignified treatment of Russian citizens aboard the ship and fully respect their rights and interests, including their right to return to Russia. It appears that the United States will not be respecting that, as we've now heard that some of these Russian citizens will be detained and possibly even put on trial. The White House confirmed that the tanker was illegally transporting Venezuelan
You can't put the-
oil in violation of U.S. sanctions,
can't put the
and there
people on
are
trial
Russian
from the-
citizens on board the vessel. Earlier, the Russian Foreign Ministry demanded that the United States ensure humane and dignified treatment of Russian citizens on the ship, as well as respect for their rights and interests. Against this backdrop, the first deputy head of the Russian State Duma has called for a forceful response, which we'll be getting to in more detail here in a moment. It does appear that for now, the U.S. is not going to be treating the Russians with the largest amount of respect, and actually may be putting some of the crew members on trial for being involved in sanctions evasion on Venezuelan oil. Meanwhile, we have seen that the Russian Federation's interior ministers inside the Duma appear to not really be that happy with the situation and are threatening significant actions, including the threat to sink several American ships, as the Russian State Duma deputy Zurevlov has actually stated that we need to respond militarily, strike with torpedoes,
So
and sink a
the
couple of
Russian
American-
Duma, the Duma, which is like their equivalent of like the House of Representatives, they're not given classified information. All the classified information is just shared within a small group of people in Russia. So, yeah, chances are they're being told to say that.
ships. That was the direct
It's just even though these people were elected, they're actually being told they're being told how to vote on almost every single issue. It's more of a bureaucracy, not a democracy.
quote from the Russian state deputy Duma member, who is apparently enraged over the incident. Meanwhile, we did hear that while the Russians are also calling this an act of outright piracy, according to TASS, it doesn't really appear that the Russians really responded in the way that they're talking about. At least for the
Oh,
Russians.
the Russians are right there. They're saying this is an act of piracy. Absolutely, it is piracy. You're taking an oil tanker and stealing the oil. And Trump said it himself. He says, "We're gonna take the oil."
Forces that were in the area.
Yes, it's absolutely
According to
piracy.
some information, it is actually believed that Russian ships, at least a very small number, were actually present within the area when the seizure was conducted by the United States. And apparently, these vessels took absolutely no action to try and defend the vessel or stop it from being boarded. Meaning that it's fairly decently so, that the Russian Federation does not really have the backbone to go up against the United States. This is something that we already knew for the longest time, and we just knew that if the U.S., used some of its muscle on the Russians, we generally see that their resistance would crumble, and it does appear that at least within this particular instance, which they have made into a do-or-die incident, it appears that their resolve to actually protect the vessel was largely non-existent beyond the statements alone, which generally falls in line with Russian foreign policy in general. Still, the situation is quite strenuous between the United States and the Russian Federation, as it does appear that this will also affect the ongoing negotiations on the war in Ukraine, which the U.S. has pledged very little support for, at least over the course of this year, with only $800 million in funds being dedicated to Ukraine over the next 2 years. That comes down to about $400 million a year, which is non-existent support, considering that we are now taking open, unfriendly, if not hostile actions against the Russian Federation and its vessels, but at the same time, for some reason, we're not willing to fund and continue the war in Ukraine, which is against that very same country that we're now having an issue with, considering that they're involved in significant sanctions violations and are arming basically every single adversary to the United States of America. Still, the United States of America appears to be trying to make its own fish to fry, at least within the area of the Caribbean.
Wow.
As we did get to
What I
hear that
just
the
saw
MT
here.
Sophia
Let me
has been
pause it
trying
for a
to make
second.
its own.
Look at this. Oh, damn it. Hold on. What I just saw here. This is called a Mercator map. Let's see.
Violations and are arming basically every single adversary to the United States of America. Still, the United
If you look at like a Mercator map, you see how big Greenland is. You can see it, like how big Greenland is compared to the rest of the United States. That's what happens when you try to map a three-dimensional object on a two-dimensional plane. Greenland is in reality Greenland is way smaller than that. It's probably, I think it might be the size of like
involved in
Texas.
significant
So
sanctions
what you
violations
see there,
and are arming
that whole
basically every single adversary
that whole
to the United
projection,
States of America. Still, the
and
United States of America
like it may be. Oh, here's a perfect picture. Greenland, like Greenland is not bigger than the United States. Greenland is probably like just to here. Brazil is huge, by the way. Anything close to the equator is bigger than you would think, anything close to the poles, either the North Pole or the South Pole, is a lot smaller. And you see sometimes pictures of like Antarctica and it looks huge. Antarctica also is not that big.
It appears to be trying to make its own fish to fry, at least within the area of the Caribbean, as we did get to hear that the MT Sophia, another tanker, was actually boarded by the United States of America in unclassified footage that was published by the Department of Defense, showing the seizure from start to finish. And we'll actually be showing all that footage right here. This is not of the Bella 1 within the Norwegian Sea, this is actually of the MT Sophia, which is within the Eastern Caribbean. This vessel was also seized about the exact same time that the aerial operations were conducted to seize the Bella 1. This is giving us an idea that the seizure of these vessels were conducted in conjunction with each other. And while they were about 3,500 miles apart when the seizures were conducted, it does not appear that that generally stopped both operations from being conducted simultaneously and both ships being seized by the United States Coast Guard or generally the U.S. Armed Forces. We can now see this Black Hawk dropping rappelling ropes down onto the deck, and we now see crew members of the helicopter dropping onto the deck and preparing to seize the ship. We see other members of the Black Hawk's complement rappelling down onto the deck once more. And we see the several of them that have made it down, creating a perimeter towards the bridge as the rest of the members of the team from the helicopter continue to rappel.
That's interesting footage. I've never seen this footage before.
When you see some of them making their way down the deck as the Black Hawk appears to have dropped off all of the members of the crew. And we can also see what appears to be another element of Special Forces that had already made it to the bridge at this time and were apparently about to enter the superstructure of the vessel, or the sail, as it's sometimes called, and attempt to make their way towards the bridge.
This is actually an interesting posture. Like, if you're kind of military ready, I think you want to have one person on their knees aiming this way, looking for threats this way. You want to have something the other way as well. These look like, it just looks like targets.
Another element of Special Forces that had already made it to the bridge at this time and were apparently about to enter the superstructure of the vessel, or the sail, as it's sometimes called, and attempt to make their way towards the bridge.
Yeah, so I did hear that there's two oil tankers. The one where that all the news is about, which is that one we talked about like 5-10 minutes ago. The other one, I did hear that there was another one. This is that other one.
We see them continuing to show close-up footage of the bridge.
It is interesting that it says unclassified here. I thought they used the word declassified.
And the Special Forces teams, which appear to be right below the bridge on lower decks on the external part of the superstructure.
Hey, Intermusser. Oh, you're going to go visit Peru and Panama. Yes. You're going to be spending time with a bunch of different Limas in Lima.
It seems as though they are generally standing by for some sort of an additional action to be made before the green light's given to enter the superstructure and make their way to the bridge. Still, that is largely the footage that we got of the seizure of the MT Sophia, which happened generally simultaneously to the actions that had happened within the Norwegian Sea today with the seizure of the Bella 1. Outside of that, we have also seen that the U.S. is now starting to ease sanctions on Venezuelan oil and allow for it to be sold on the global markets, at least by U.S. sanctions, for that matter. Meanwhile, the United States of America seems to be involved in its own situations for the larger part, particularly about the situation with Greenland, as the United States government has continued to threaten the annexation of Greenland, and the following statement has been made by the President of the United States earlier this morning. Remember, for all those big NATO fans, they were at 2% GDP and most weren't paying their bills until I came along. The USA was foolishly paying for them. I respectfully got them to 5% GDP and they pay immediately. Everyone said that that couldn't be done, but it could because beyond all else, they are all my friends. Without my involvement, Russia would have all of Ukraine right now.
Without my involvement, Russia would have all of Ukraine right now. Like, he's so delusional.
Remember, I single-handedly ended 8 wars, and Norway, a NATO member, foolishly chose not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh, here we go. Now he's complaining about not getting the Nobel Peace Prize. Okay.
But that doesn't matter. What does matter is that I saved millions of lives. Russia and China have zero fear of NATO without the United States, and I doubt NATO would be there for us if we really needed them. Flashbacks to 2001, which was the only time that Article 5 was ever invoked.
He is right. The only time Article 5 was ever invoked was by the United States. And all the United States allies, they came to the rescue of the United States to help invade their enemy.
Everyone is lucky that I rebuilt our military in my first term and continue to do so. We will always be there for NATO, even if they won't be there for us. The only nation.
Okay, so Trump is saying, we will always be there for NATO, even if they won't be there for us. Okay. Even though he was the one that says he might leave NATO. Okay.
Russia fear and respect is the rebuilt USA and then political slogans inserted at the end. I've got to be entirely honest with y'all, folks. I know that this channel does not take any political side, but it's hard to look at this and not say that this is insane. I mean, this quite truly.
This whole post is insane. Like, there is actually something mentally wrong with him, because he's at the point where he thinks anything he posts, people will believe. That's not a good thing.
It sounds insane. Norway as a nation does not hand out the Nobel Peace Prize. It's a Nobel Peace Prize Council that elects people to give out the Nobel Peace Prize. Also, for someone that says that doesn't matter, well, giving the Nobel Peace Prize doesn't matter, it's interesting that he brings this up months after the Nobel Peace Prize has already been given out for the nominee for 2024. So I got to say, this whole deal isn't really looking too good.
I think he means the nominee for 2025, but yeah.
Really appear that this is stirring the faith in any of our allies, that the United States, or at least the current administrative leadership, appears to be all that sane. As we did hear that within Paris, it does appear that the French are now working on a plan with its allies should the U.S. move on Greenland, according to Reuters reports. We've additionally been able to hear that orders have been given to the Danish patrols within the area of Greenland, that they are under orders to engage any hostile activity in Greenland, including unannounced U.S. activities. The United States of America does have a significant force presence within the area of Greenland, and it now appears that if U.S. forces generally leave the facilities or bases within Greenland and start to conduct any unauthorized military actions within the area that were not run by...
Look at this map. It looks like Greenland. Greenland is like twice the size of the United States. Like, Greenland is the size of the United States and Canada put together. But that's the Mercator map for you.
First, it appears that the Danish security forces will actually start to open fire on the U.S., as they are not really sure if the U.S. would be attempting to conduct a military annexation of Greenland at that point. It doesn't really appear that the U.S.'s foreign policy actions at this point are positioning ourselves in a great deal, or in a great way, with our European allies inside of NATO, and that is something that is generally not a good move.
Oh, that's okay, Truth Warrior. I saw your text before. You have an appointment in a little bit. I really hope the doctor is able to take care of that rash for you. Certainly in a sensitive spot.
The European Union and the United Kingdom account for around $1.1 trillion in trade combined, which is the largest trading bloc that we have any relations with in the world. The only country that gets close to that would be Mexico, with a cumulative trade of around $850 billion annually. The thing about this is that not only are they an economically important ally and produce a great deal of money and trade for the United States of America, but they also are an incredibly important strategic ally. There is no other force on the planet that is as militarily competent as the combined forces of Europe, except for the United States of America. The Chinese, the Russians, and everyone else in the world does not have the military capabilities that the combined force of the European Union would have. The propaganda about NATO not even counting and the fact that NATO is non-existent and pointless is absolutely stupid. NATO has proved its value and worth, especially over the past few years, exceptionally well, considering that a war with the Russian Federation appears to be a high likelihood. And with the U.S. taking very risky actions at this point with war on the horizon, like seizing the Marinero 1 or the Vela 1 within the Norwegian Sea today, which can only be raising tensions between the
Oh,
United
come on,
States and
Truther,
Russia,
just kidding.
is only eking us as well closer to a possible war with the Russian Federation. And if that is going to be the case, then it would be much better to have a combined major alliance to fight the Russian Federation with than having Europe and the United States fight Russia individually at their own separate times. This doesn't make any sense at all. The U.S. is attempting to completely torpedo the NATO alliance by an attempted or threatened military annexation of Greenland, and it is not looking that good at all. I'll be entirely honest with you all, and I would hope that somebody within the U.S. government, say the Congress, may take actions to ensure that nothing can be done
Yeah,
that will
Congress-
completely torpedo and sabotage.
Congress should take actions. It's called impeachment. It's called 25th Amendment. This is all the negative stuff we thought was going to happen has happened, plus so much more has happened. It's with sadness that Congress is not doing its duty. They take an oath to the Constitution. They take an oath to fish out stuff like this.
The already strained relations that the United States has with the remainder of the NATO alliance. Moving on from that, though, we have also been able to hear that the Iranian Revolution is still underway at this moment. We haven't been able to
Yeah,
get
what's
a lot
happening
of
in
video
Iran-
and picture evidence for you all.
What's happening in Iran is actually really interesting. This is the first time that we've seen really serious uprisings in many of the cities in Iran.
A lot of it probably wouldn't be acceptable for a YouTube video, but we can see that there are still chants in the street stating that, according to Reza Pahlavi, or at least the chants in the street, this is the last battle and Pahlavi will return. Those are at least the statements from the ground inside of the Islamic Republic of Iran. That's the end of that clip, but still letting us hear at least some of the chants that are being made within the area. Major revolutions are happening throughout the entirety of the country over the course of the day, although unfortunately we would definitely not be able to show the video and picture evidence from most of those. If y'all would like to see that, though, make sure to come to our stream tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, because we will be covering that once again in full detail over the course of the night. But at the moment, it does appear the revolution is continuing to strain the Islamic Republic of Iran's government, and that the situation is only getting worse. Meanwhile, we've also heard that the United States of America's MQ-4 Tritons are still conducting surveillance routes within the area of the Gulf of Oman and the Strait of Hormuz, possibly to gather further information on Iranian military capabilities near to the Strait of Hormuz, considering that U.S. forces are moving into CENTCOM's area of responsibility in incredibly large numbers and are preparing for armed strikes against the Islamic Republic of Iran in conjunction with the Israelis. Meanwhile, inside of Syria, we have seen that the Syrian civil war at least appears to be starting off for a second time, as the Syrian interim government has declared that all YPG, or Syrian Democratic Forces, positions in the Aleppo area are military targets, and they've urged civilians to evacuate within 3 hours. That means that at this moment, there is basically a second civil war going on, because the Syrian interim government saying that the SDF poses a actual military target generally means that they consider the entirety of the SDF faction within northeastern Syria to be a hostile power to the Syrian interim government, and for that matter, a larger conflict will heavily likely be beginning as a result of these statements. We've additionally seen that the Syrian interim government is now moving armor into the streets, with this video today actually showing us what appears to be an older T-72B type main battle tank being used within the streets of Aleppo. Here's the clip. I'll actually have to correct myself. That is not a T-72B, that is a T-72A, which is the very first iteration of the T-72 that ever saw combat service anywhere in the
like
world,
the cage.
way back in the 1970s.
I do like the cage they have around this. So this cage will actually unlikely not stop like a drone. It'll stop the drones from getting in the cage, but if a drones explode, Like they're probably still getting hit.
Also, it appears that they've equipped it with some sort of a cope cage anti-drone net, which is quite interesting considering that they have basically no other drone protection on any other part of the vehicle except for the turret. And as many of y'all will know,
Yeah, this looks like, and for people who've been following the war and everything, you've seen all the the franking monster kind of cages that the Russians have been putting up to stop the drones. But this one actually looks like a mosquito net, which is pretty funny.
drone hits the side skirt,
It'll
right
stop the
here,
mosquitoes
of this
from
being
coming in,
battle
but
tank that punches
if a
straight
drone
through,
explodes
it
out
doesn't
here,
hit the ammo
yeah,
carousel,
you're
it's
still
gonna send
getting
that
hit.
turret flying into basically the atmosphere. So not really the greatest idea for anti-drone protection, but who am I to judge? This is Syria, and they play by a whole different rulebook. As you can see, it definitely is Syria. We see another tank rolling in right here, and we can see the engine exhaust of the others, generally obscuring the video, but we can see another T-72A rolling in with the crew members waving, as a BMP-1 now follows them all up from behind. Additional armored equipment also is arriving as well, including other BMP-1s, generally equipped only with their 73mm recoilless gun and no anti-tank guided missile equipment. We can also see some of the Syrian interim government army forces here filming, and I have to say that they appear to be woefully under-equipped for this to be the official army of the Syrian interim government.
Hey, Pelly.
We see another BMP-1 rolling into frame. So what this appears to be, the best way I could describe it, although Syria probably doesn't understand it this way, is that it looks like in terms of force they have some sort of a mechanized infantry battalion in the area that's being supported by two T-72s. That's probably the best way we could explain the forces that the Syrian interim government has brought into the city at this point. And we also understand they're augmented by a heavy amount of motorized rifle units that are using generally small arms and technicals, which are pickup trucks with machine guns mounted onto the back, to provide any supporting firepower in other areas and to also provide for higher mobility infantry units. Still, at the moment, it does appear that the Syrian civil war is going to be going on quite strongly at this point and on into the future, as the two sides appear to be getting ready to go at a head, most likely along the Euphrates River, where they share the longest border. Moving on from that and into the Russian Federation, it also appears the jet engine factory has caught on fire over the course of the day as well, which was used to produce aircraft and helicopter jet engines used in the assembly and use of both. This factory did appear to be on fire to a smaller degree earlier in the day, but we do not know how significant the damage will end up becoming. It may have been a minor or moderate incident causing minor or moderate damage, but it does not appear to be causing serious damage from what we can tell, as a large part of the factory still remains intact, at least at this point of the video. Still, it does appear that either Ukrainian partisans are doing incredibly good work, or the Ukrainian intelligence services are doing incredibly good work, or maybe even both, or maybe even the Ukrainian army has done some incredible work. We're not entirely sure. But with that, folks, that is the end of the news for the day, and I have to say a huge thanks to all of y'all so much once again for watching. If y'all have enjoyed, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and support us on Patreon, link in the description below. It is folks like y'all who help us to be able to support this channel.
Alright, I think they're into that. What is this? Finally happened? Yeah, that's the... I don't really want to watch that. Let's go live. This is live. Uh-oh. Why is this not live? Sometimes I just have to click like this. Come on. Come on. What's going on here? Okay. So it is now 4 o'clock here, so it's 4 a.m. in Pattaya at this intersection. Oh, this guy. Oh, I can see this guy's trying to make a transit. Oh, no, he's talking to his friends. It looks like a common place for people of the female persuasion like to hang out. Maybe to get customers. Customers for what? I wouldn't know. There are a number of movies playing. Maybe they want to see like a late night movie. Maybe Jurassic Park is playing. All right, so let's give it a few minutes. I would say if we get like 2 people, I can start the StreamYard stream if anyone wants to come on. Otherwise, I only have like seven days left to do a few hours, so I'll hold off unless people want to come on. I'll hold off the StreamYard stream. Bum, 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 bum. Let's see if anyone else is going live. Someone just said that Ron has a new channel, so let me check if Ron is on. Ron is not on. All right, I think I've been on for like 2 hours now. Oh, I'll be seeing all this. I'll be seeing all this like in a week from now. This is a real popular intersection. I always seem to go by this intersection a lot. And if you head this way, you head up the screen from here, you kind of hit like this is Soy Diana, so you'll hit like Beach Road. And if you were watching the stream earlier, if you head left and go to South Pattaya Road, make a left on South Pattaya Road, you'll hit that Mano cheesesteak place. And if you head straight down, I think that's Soy Lenki. This is like a real close to like most of the places. But yeah, didn't get 2 people that want to come on, so I think I'm gonna end the stream now. And we'll give it a go, maybe tomorrow or Friday. Thank you guys for coming on. And